In the last video, series 1, we discussed the definition of banking and the largest source of funds for the bank to do banking business. We also learned the types of deposits. We also understood what is meant by cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio, demand and time liabilities, and net demand and time liabilities. Today in this video series 2, let us understand the other sources of funds the banks have to do banking business. The other sources can be classified as 1. The owner's fund, which includes the capital of the bank, reserves and surplus. The second one is the borrowings the bank does from RBI or other banks. The thirdly, the bank floats certain instruments in the market to raise funds. Let us go one by one and understand each one of them. The first one is the bank's own fund, which is also called as capital, reserve and surplus. The capital in the bank is the shareholders' funds. The public invest in the bank shares and get a return by way of dividend. Whenever the market is bullish, the share prices go up and the shareholders sell the shares at a higher price and earn profit. Now let us understand what is meant by reserve, what is meant by surplus, what is the difference between these two. The surplus as well as the reserve is nothing but a part of the profit generated by the bank and retained in the business. Reserve represents the profit generated and retained up to the year before last. The profit generated in the last year and retained in the banking is known as surplus. So the capital, the reserve and the surplus are known as the shareholders' funds in the bank. The second one is the bank borrows funds as and when it needs, either from other banks or from Reserve Bank of India. The third source of funds is the Reserve Bank of India had permitted the banks to float certain instruments such as perpetual non-cumulative preference shares, innovative perpetual debt instruments and subordinated debt to raise funds from other institutions and individuals. The above three instruments should have certain specific characteristics prescribed by the Reserve Bank of India. The bank can include these three documents: PNCPS, that is preferential perpetual non-cumulative preference shares, innovative perpetual debt instrument also known as EPD, and subordinated debt to raise funds from the market. These can be included as capital fund, but they are not capital. The capital of the bank is nothing but the shareholders fund. A percentage of funds raised through floating such instruments can be a part of capital fund. We must understand that the banks in India are supposed to comply with the requirements of Basel Accord. As per the Basel Accord, every bank should have a minimum capital adequacy requirement. The same is prescribed as on today as 9%. Out of the 9%, 5.5% should be by way of bank's own funds and the balance can come by raising the above instruments. The details of the Basel norms in detail we will learn later in the another video. So for the present, understand that in addition to the deposit collected from the public, bank has got other sources of funds to do the banking business. They are capital, reserve and surplus, borrowings which the banks does from other banks and RBI, the funds raised by issuing certain security instruments such as PNCPS, EPD and subordinated debt. In the next video, we will learn more about the income and expenditure of the bank and the lending and investment activities of the bank. If you have understood this, if you like this, please subscribe to this video series. Thank you very much.